Hey, I heard something new is happening.
What are you exactly talking about?
I just heard that Maharashtra State Board has changed the syllabus this year for class 11 and 12. Do you know anything about it?
Oh, that. Yes, I heard about it and found some details also.
That's great! You are the right person to clear my doubts then.
Haha, I guess so. Well, what do you want to know?
Well, I'm wondering what made the board change the syllabus this year? I mean, what is the thought behind this change?
See, I remember Standard 10 syllabus was changed in 2018 or 19. That's why they changed 11th and 12th syllabus this year.
You mean to say that they are thinking of some kind of continuity from previous years of study?
That's absolutely right. I'll tell you more about it next time, okay?
Okay. Well, did you read the first chapter of the book, The Story by R K Narayan?
Yes, it's titled An Astrologer's Day. It's an interesting story, I must say.
Yes, it's a fantastic story.
Let's see who remembers the story better. And the one who remembers best will be treated with chai and samosas.
I accept your challenge. Quite frankly, I am unable to recollect how the story begins.
Haha, it seems that you're getting ready to give me that treat. Well, I remember how the story begins. The story commences by describing a man who makes astrology his profession, even though he knows nothing about the stars and the planets. As a practice, the man opens his business every day sitting on the roadside, spreading his professional equipment, which consists of a dozen cowrie shells, a square piece of cloth with obscure mystic charts, a notebook, and a bundle of Palmyra writing.
Yes, I now remember the story. Added to the astrologer's professional paraphernalia, he alters his appearance to look like a fortune teller. He liberally applies ash and vermilion on his forehead. With long dark whiskers running down his cheek, he searches boringly for customers through his abnormally sharp, sparkling eyes. He enhances his look by wrapping a saffron-colored turban around his head. This was his foolproof appearance to convince passers-by.
Yes, and people never fail to look towards him, as he always caught their attention, just like bees are attracted to colorful flowers. He sat under the expansive tamarind tree that was on the walkway which ran through the town hall park. It was a remarkable place in many ways. Pressing crowds were constantly moving to and fro on this narrow road from dawn to dusk.
In addition to his stall, the path was littered with a number of petty shops of traders, which included medicine sellers, peddlers of stolen hardware and junk, magicians, and an auctioneer of cheap cloth, which attracted the whole town.
Yes, and just next to our astrologer's sit-out was a noisy fried groundnut seller who gave his ware a fancy name each day, calling it Bombay ice cream or Delhi almond or Raja's delicacy, and so people flocked to him. These customers hovered around the astrologer and were probably tempted to consult him.
The astrologer loved the mystical aura of the place in the evenings. In the absence of municipal lighting, hissing gas lights, old cycle lamps belonging to shop owners lit up the place. His immediate surrounding was specially magical, owing to the illuminated crackling and smoke of the oil lamp of the groundnut seller. It seemed to him like a magician's shadow and light performance. However, like him, some others managed without lights of their own.
He used the tactic of saying things which pleased and astonished everyone, being more an outcome of shrewd study, practice, and guesswork than spiritual insight. Nevertheless, it was his honest labor. He deserved the wages he took home at the end of the day.
Before his arrival here, if he had continued living in his village, he would have tilled his forefathers' cornfield to eke out a living, marrying, and growing old in his ancestral home. However, he had left his village without a plan and without informing anyone. He traveled without stopping till his village was 100 miles behind him.
Yes, he did not plan to be an astrologer when he restarted his life here. It is no secret now that he and his innocent customers were both ignorant of celestial knowledge. Yet, due to his wide growing experience and understanding of human aspects of life, money, and complications of human relationships, he understood their problems in no time. He twisted his swift analysis to make ambiguous statements, ask general common questions, and use flattery to his advantage. His strategy was to allow his customers to speak at length without saying a word, and during this time, he used to analyze their problems and their character.
Usually, the astrologer used to wind up his act when the nut vendor blew out his lamp, collecting his stuff to return home. He would be left in darkness, illuminated just by a beam of dim green light from an unknown source. He could not continue after this. One day, as the astrologer was collecting his articles to go home, he saw a man standing before him, and sensing him to be a possible client, the astrologer started to converse with him, suggesting him to sit and chat as he looked tired and worn out from a long journey. This would also give him the opportunity to tell the stranger his fortune. The man grumbled and replied vaguely. When the astrologer insisted, the man mocked him, saying, "You call yourself an astrologer?" Feeling intimidated, the astrologer tilted the other man's palm in the dim green light and started to express in his usual style.
At this time, the man interrupted, indicating to the astrologer not to waste his time and come to the point of telling something worthwhile. Although the astrologer was irritated, he replied gently, quoting his low price of only 3 pice per question. Immediately, the other man withdrew his hand and offered him a higher compensation, an anna, with the condition that if his words were proven false, he would have to return the money along with interest. Accepting the challenge, the astrologer demanded a higher price of 5 rupees in return for satisfactory answers. After some argument and haggling, they reached an agreement for 8 annas.
As the stranger lit his cigar, a cheroot, the astrologer caught a glimpse of the man's face. He began to shiver and started to feel uncomfortable. He offered to withdraw from the challenge, but the stranger refused, saying that a deal was a deal, while sucking on his cigar continuously. The astrologer returned the anna back to the stranger and said that he does not accept such challenges. Moreover, it was too late and he wished to go home and offered to fulfill the stranger's demand the next day. The stranger once again refused and said it was the astrologer who had dragged him into this and hence would have to stay and finish the deal. The astrologer, though hesitant, demanded a payment of 1 rupee for a convincing answer, else he refused to say anything more. The stranger agreed to the new deal.
Surprisingly, the astrologer revealed that the man was stabbed, pushed into a well, and was left there, assuming that he was dead. The man was shocked because it was true. He showed the astrologer the scar on his chest and said that he was saved by a passerby. Furthermore, the stranger said that he was looking forward to finding and killing the person who had left him to die. The stranger was curious to know whether he would be successful in finding that man. In reply, the astrologer said that his search would be futile as the man was killed in a road accident, crushed under a lorry.
When the astrologer took the stranger's name, Guru Nayak, and claimed to know where he lived, the stranger was speechless. He was now attentively listening to the astrologer's advice. The astrologer applied some ash on the man's forehead, advising him to return home and never to travel southward again, as his life would be in danger if he did. The man accepted his advice with gratitude. Giving him a handful of coins, left the place, which was now completely dark.
It was nearly midnight when the astrologer reached home and found his wife waiting at the door. He gave her the money, which made her very excited and joyous. Counting 12 and half annas, she started making plans to buy jaggery and coconut to prepare sweets for her children.
After they finished dinner, he told his wife how relieved he was to now know that he had not killed a man. He narrated to her that one day, when he was drunk and had got into a quarrel with a friend while gambling, as a silly youngster, he had stabbed him with a knife. Feeling intensely guilty, he ran away from his home, leaving his village, and settled here and married her.
And she was shocked to hear that he had tried to kill someone.
Ignoring her utter disbelief, he continued narrating that he was greatly relieved today when he came to know that that person is alive. Saying this, he stretched himself, yawning on the cot to sleep. And that's how the story ends.
I think both of us did a good job in narrating the story.
This means both of us deserve the chai and samosas. Let's go!
Ah, I loved the masala chai and the hot spicy samosas. Yummy!
Enough. You had more than your share of it. You are one character.
Talking about character, do you know a set of characters is the most important element in a story? While plot, setting and theme is required, no story element ranks above character. Characters serve as the driving force in a story.
Yes, an astrologer's day reveals the qualities of three main characters, namely the astrologer, the man Guru Nayak, and the astrologer's wife. The astrologer was shrewd, clever, smart, sharp, intuitive, mystical, cunning, mean, and overconfident. Guru Nayak seemed to be manipulative, gullible, quarrelsome, arrogant, aggressive, demanding, antagonistic, skeptical, and impetuous.
And the astrologer's wife was caring, suspicious, protective, worried, humanistic, and rational.
What a story and what characters! R K Narayan used just 3 characters in a simplistic setting with a simple plot to make an enthralling story. I'm inspired to write a story myself.
You may be aware that R K Narayan is very successful at character portrayal in his novels. He describes his characters according to the culture and environment with relevant and effective dialogues. His characters are lifelike and have been drawn from the middle or lower middle class of the society.
Very valuable information. We must discuss more about him.
So, Rasikuram Krishnaswamy Iyer Narayan Swamy referred himself as R K Narayan. He was a famous Indian English writer and novelist. He authored 14 novels, 5 volumes of short stories, and a number of travelogues. Narayan created the imagery town of Malguri, where realistic characters in a typical Indian setting lived in unpredictable events. His stories are grounded in compassionate humanism and celebrated the humor and energy of ordinary life. His stories are characterized by simple style and subtle humor.
That's true. His novel, The Guide, won him the Sahitya Academy Award in 1961, which is the most coveted literary honor in India. His writing is distinguished by humor and unoffending irony. Narayan typically portrays the peculiarities of human relationships and the ironies of Indian daily life. His style is graceful, marked by genial humor, elegance, and simplicity.
This was a very good discussion. Till now, we discussed the story, importance of characters, and familiarized ourselves about the author.
Yes, we did a good job too, but there's something more that we need to find out.
And what's that?
Well, we need to find out about the difference between astronomy and astrology, understand superstition, and identify a couple of common examples.
And why is that?
Well, we observe that the astrologers successfully exploited the gullible mainly because of their superstitious beliefs. Not many can distinguish the difference between astronomy and astrology.
Yes, let's brainstorm.
What is brainstorming? Is it to create a storm in my brain?
Hey, don't be silly. To brainstorm is to solve a problem or make a decision by thinking of as many ideas as possible in a short time. It is when people are able to think more freely and suggest as many spontaneous new ideas as possible.
We may not brainstorm about astrology and astronomy right away, but we can surely encourage brainstorming by feeding the brain with some information regarding it, isn't it?
We invite our viewers, especially you, Standard 12 students, to share your personal views on astrology in the comment box with your name and class. Select comment and views with the names will be published in our next video. For further lessons, keep watching our videos. Don't forget to like, share with your friends, subscribe and comment.